combat Magnum loads. And what I mean by that, you know, the old school loads that are most likely used in a combat Magnum handgun. And I know Smith & Wesson has handguns called the combat Magnums. In fact, this model 69 44 Magnum actually is called combat Magnum, but combat Magnum in general is kind of like saying Wonder 9. You know, it's basically a Magnum, a 357, a 44 Magnum that's not like a hunting gun. That's actually a service-sized revolver, 4-inch barrel for personal protection. That's kind of what these are, combat Magnums. And back in the day, the loads that were usually used for self-defense for law enforcement were the 240 grain. And we have a 240 grain semi-jacketed hollow point. That's what makes this kind of cool. And then our 158 grain for a 357 Magnum, 158 grain semi-jacketed hollow point. So both semi-jacketed hollow points, both in their most common weights, 240 grain, 158 grain. We have a 4 1/4 inch barrel here. We have a 4 1/8 inch barrel. So very close in barrel lengths here, very close in weight. So what I really want to find out is it really worth it going to a 44 Magnum, or is a 357 Magnum enough really? And also, is there going to be a big difference in practical accuracy? So I'm going to do some practical accuracy drills as well as a ballistic test with this. So I'm going to go through the chronograph. We're going to see what kind of power we got going on with those two classic loads. And then for my ballistic test, we have our 10% clear ballistics, and we're covered by our 1 3/4 inch pack of bologna, covered by 4 layers of denim, followed by 1/4 inch medium density fiberboard. And a lot of people on some previous tests asked, why does this represent 7 inches? How did I come up with that number? How did I guess that number? And you know, it's a lot simpler than what it seems. I shot some rounds into this clear ballistic block. I'd shoot the same round through a bologna pack and find that on average we were about 7 inches less penetration without the bologna pack, or yeah, with the bologna pack. So yeah, that's pretty much how I did that. So after our ballistic test, I'm going to do some practical 7-yard accuracy drills, a little bit of rapid fire. I'll do some speed loader reloads, and then I'm going to shoot from 25 yards down here. I'm steel plate, see what kind of practical accuracy they might have and what kind of swing it might get on that 10-inch gong. So let's get started with this test. All right, first up is our 357 Magnum 158 grain semi-jacketed hollow point. I don't see a rating on the box for velocity, but typically something like this is about 1250 feet per second. So let's see how close we can get to typical about 1250. $11.98, $11.71, $11.82, $11.12, $11.23. So a little bit less than typical, but still pretty much in our normal Magnum range. So let's see how that 44 mag compares. Right, by the way, I am 5 yards from the target, 4 yards from the chronograph. Next up is our 44 Magnum. It actually has a rating of 1230 feet per second at the muzzle. So let's see how close we get to 1230 out of this model 69. 1184, 1251, 1224, 1232, 1221. So about what you would expect, and quite a bit of recoil actually. So let's hit our ballistic gel block with our bologna pack and see how these two semi-jacketed hollow points compare to each other. All right, first up we have our 357 Magnum semi-jacketed hollow point. Let's see what we get. All right. So as we might expect, a ton of damage to this bologna pack. Just completely shredded this thing. It bent this entire fiberboard piece. This is where it impacted, so we're starting to expand already for sure. And through the back, the whole thing is cracked. Big, huge hole through it. So let's see what we got in that gel block. So what we can definitely see here, the gel block didn't really move, but our damage path comes all the way up to about 12 3/4. So we're going to add 7 inches to that. So that's 19. 3/4. So 19 3/4. It's a little bit above what you would expect or what you want to see for penetration, because 18 inches is your maximum through the FBI protocol. However, baloney packs obviously is not FBI protocol. But what I can see here is just really good expansion. Really nice. Let's see if the 44 Magnum can compare to this. All right, 44 mag. Let's see what this will do. Wow. Completely moved that entire block. All right, our baloney pack has roughly the same amount of damage, except it did blow a corner off that fiberboard. Pretty much the same thing going on through our fiberboard. So let's see what we got in that gel block. So what we're looking at here is in our gel block, we are at about 14 1/4. So that's about 21 1/4 if it were just gel through, through the denim. So that's a little bit high on the penetration side, but honestly, that's not a lot. That's not a lot of penetration. It's not what people would always tell you about the 44 mag penetrating through walls and all that stuff. We got good expansion. It limited that penetration because if you saw my video with the mono metal buffalo boar, or even some of the hard cast, it'll just, it goes right through all that. So I'm going to say pretty comparable here. I'm not really sure if the 44 is going to give you something more than what that 357 is going to give you, but let's move on to our practical accuracy drill and see if maybe there's a difference in what I can do shooting kind of quickly. All right, I am 7 yards from that target. I'm just going to pull up my revolver, fire 6 rounds as fast as I think I can hit that target. I'm going to do a reload and see what it looks like. So let's see what I can do. A little bit hang up on this reload, but all right. I think I got them all on target with the headshot at the end. Not particularly wonderful of a group, but I mean, we're in about the size of my palm. Definitely combat effective and not too hard to pull off. So let's try that 44. All right, next up, the 44 mag, exact same thing. However, this is as fast as I think I can hit the target, not as fast as I think I can pull the trigger. So this will probably slow me down a little bit, but I'll do my 5 rounds because it's a 5-shot, and they do a 5-shot reload. So let's see what I can do. Stuck cases, that's not good. All right, I think I got them all on paper there. So roughly as combat effective as far as our accuracy is concerned and capability, but obviously our follow-up shots, there's a significant difference there, and definitely a significant difference in how my hand feels right now, and my wrist. That's probably not going to be a consideration if you're actually in a gunfight necessarily how you feel, but how that might kind of set you off balance a little bit. This from your, disorienting is the word I'm trying to look for. Might be a little bit disorienting because even with this, it feels like I'm shooting something like a 22 without hearing protection at all. So there's a little bit of sound going on there. So next up, I'm going to shoot from 25 yards and see what kind of practical accuracy I can get at that range. See how much swing we got on that plate. All right, from 25 yards up my steel gong down there. The reason why I do this test is because 25 yards is probably the maximum engagement distance you'd ever be involved in trying to defend yourself in, and that steel plate is roughly the size of a cantaloupe. So I'll leave it to you guys to figure out the practical application for that, but I always like to do this test with all the rounds I test for, you know, personal protection. So first up, we have our 357 Magnum. Let's see how I can shoot this. All right, let me try just a few more because I think I can do a little bit better. So let me try. All right, same ammo, same semi-jacketed 158 grain hollow point there. Now I know where to hold, so let me hold. You know, I'm at about 8 o'clock. Let me try single action. All right, so, you know, not the easiest thing to hit something when you got a little bit more recoil than normal and you're kind of anticipating it, at least for me anyways. And there's always a little bit more recoil when we're talking heavy, like 158 grain over 125 grain, or 240 grain over 180 grain when we're talking 44. So let's try that 44, we'll see how that does. All right, I only have 4 rounds of this left, so let me try 1 or 2 double action just to see if I can hit this thing. Don't tell me you didn't love that, because I did. And I know you guys, so let me set that plate back up and do it again. So you 44 guys, don't let anybody ever tell you you don't got enough rounds, because you just say, I don't need more. Let me try it again. I don't even know how that came off, so let me try again. Let me go single action. That last shot, but that was pretty cool on that first shot there. So between the two of these, I'm just going to sum it up in a real quick practical way of saying this. The 357 mag has a lot of recoil. It's probably more than what most people can handle, and even for me it's a little bit uncomfortable, but we're right on the edge where it's kind of practical. You can kind of deal with it, you can kind of do okay with it. The 44 Magnum is not within that edge, it's over it. It's to a level where it's like, you really shouldn't use full power loads like that for self-defense. You know, that shows a deer on the box. You know, it's a hunting load anyways. However, that's something that some people use for self-defense. But when we're talking about, you know, getting some quicker follow-up shots, not getting over penetration, just reducing that recoil in general, you're not going to want to use a full power 240 grain load for self-defense. And I don't even think you'd ever really want to use a lightened load 240 grain, because even in those, even though the recoil is less, where you don't have necessarily a lot of blast and powder, because it's a 240 grain, it's in the barrel longer, and just like a 45 auto versus a 9mm, where it's not more powerful, the muzzle will jump because it's in the barrel longer. There's more weight, and it just causes that muzzle to rise. And we have the same effect between 357 mag and 44 mag. So if you really want to carry 44 mag, you should probably carry what I carry in it, not a load like that. And actually, I have those rounds on me right now. So one last little test, I'll just show that there is a difference when you pick the right load. That's the Buffalo Bore 180 grain XTP. And even though it's Buffalo Bore, it's not loaded high. It's loaded as like a light personal defense load. All right, now I got my 44 Magnum. I'm back from 7 yards with the Buffalo Bore personal defense rounds. They have more energy than a 357 Magnum, or somewhere around like 620, 630 foot-pounds energy. So they should reduce my recoil and give me a little bit better abilities to land shots on the target. So let's see what I can get with this. And their case extraction is a little less sticky, but still kind of sticky. So that's definitely what you'd want to use for personal defense if you're going to carry a 44 Magnum with a 4-inch barrel. I mean, you can carry whatever you want, obviously, but for me, it's either going to be that or it's going to be a warm 44 special. So anyways, that's what you get today between our old classic combat Magnum loads, our 240 grain semi-jacketed hollow point, soft point versus our 357. Now, one last word here. One thing I like about the 44 Magnum versus other calibers is if you look at the one-shot stop statistics, and I know that a lot of people don't agree with a lot of those, 44 Magnum is the most consistent. Whether you're using a 240 grain, a 210 grain, a 180 grain, whether it's at a low energy level or a higher energy level, they're all a little over 90% one-shot stop. So very consistent just because it has that diameter and it's got enough power to get the job done. So again, as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.